Hello, everyone. This is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I hope you are all doing well. I wanted to hop on here really quickly to discuss Love Marriage Huntsville, in particular, the Stan War dramas that have pretty much derailed the show. So, last week I talked about the millimeters, and I was stating that some of the millimeters were deliberately instigating mess so that they could come to the rescue and pretend to defend and protect Melody from all of her haters. And in my comment section, people were saying that the reason why Melody's supporters are so vicious is because they are defending her from Melody's haters. And they mentioned Miss Wanda, they mentioned other people forming groups on Facebook and other social media platforms to pounce on Melody. And I don't disagree with that. I do think that Melody has a lot of haters. She's always had a lot of haters since before all this even started. One of the reasons why I started my platform was because Melody had the most haters of anybody on this show, and I didn't understand why. So I devoted my platform initially to trying to help people to understand why Melody reacted and responded to Martell and the other members of the cast the way that she did, right? And I think I was successful in doing that. This was about 2 years ago when I started my platform. I think I was successful in basically making the case for Melody and explaining why she was the way she was and why she did not deserve to be treated the way she was treated because people didn't like her personality. That was done. Since then, there have been groups that have been formed that were pro-Melody and anti-Melody. And on the show, Melody supporters are being blamed for crossing the line and attacking cast members personally. And when I mentioned that, some people in the comment section were saying that the unhinged fans are not Melody supporters. There are other people trying to profit off of the drama, which is fine. I'm not saying that that's not true. However, if you cultivate an environment of toxicity, and toxicity is rewarded with attention, financial compensation, traction, popularity. Even if you're not directly responsible for someone doing something negative, you're supporting the negativity by giving the people who are instigating the mess your support, your attention, your time, so on and so forth, right? So we cannot differentiate between Melody supporters and people who want to instigate mess because a lot of Melody supporters are egging on the individuals who are starting the mess for their own personal reasons. And this is not to say that Melody supporters are the only one doing this. This is happening on both sides, okay? Now, people are making the excuses that they're attacking Melody because Melody is weaponizing her fan base against the other cast members, which may or may not be true. Miss Wanda went on a rampage against Melody. She's been on a rampage against Melody for I don't know how long, forever, I guess. And Melody finally responded, and so on and so forth. So it's not going to get any better. I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to offend anybody. I don't watch any of the content creators who review the show anymore. I don't watch Carlos King. I don't watch any interviews. I'm staying away from the space because it's too toxic. And I knew it was going to get toxic because I grew up in an environment that was very similar to the dynamics of this show. Meaning, I grew up in an environment with Black people who liked to fight, who liked drama, who had a bloodlust for dysfunction and chaos. On both sides, this is happening. So some of the millimeters want drama and chaos. Some of Stormy's supporters want this. In particular, the older people who are pretending to, go on a rampage against Melody or against Stormy or against the babies in these situations under the guise of, I'm just protecting my family. This social media drama has less to do with the individual cast members on the show and their drama and more to do with our culture and our desire and our incessant need for drama, chaos, mess, and confusion. When I was a little girl growing up in New York, when people would fight in the streets, there would be nobody to break up the fight. As a matter of fact, a crowd would gather and they would egg on and instigate the fight. I would walk away because I knew that by watching the fight, being an observer or being in the audience, I was low-key supporting the conflict. So I would always walk away. If you paid attention to social media over the past 10 to 15 years, Facebook, WorldStar, Instagram, so on and so forth, you would see that there is a culture of dysfunction and drama and chaos and fighting in our communities. The people that are instigating the mess are not doing it to defend the honor of the cast members on the show. They're instigating mess for their own personal enrichment. Not only are they getting enriched by this drama, it's feeding something inside of them. It's like an energy vampire. And how do I know this? Again, I grew up in the Black community. If you go online, on social media as well, you can see how we engage with each other. We like to tear each other down. We like to beat each other up. We like to see violence, confusion, humiliation, embarrassment. We like to inflict pain on each other more than any other race of people like to do to each other. That is a part of our culture. It's predictable. It's clockable. I predicted this was going to happen a couple years ago, not because I'm some sort of prophet, but because this is a pattern of behavior that is a part of our culture. And that is why I said we had to pull back, because it was only going to get worse, because there are going to be people involved who are going to use the show as an excuse to feed their bloodlust. There are people in our community who love drama and fighting, and they don't want the chaos to stop because it feeds something within them. So it's not about Melody, it's not about Stormy, it's not about anybody. And to be honest, the older cast members, like Stormy's mother, Miss Betty, like Miss Wanda, they are a reflection of how the elders treat the younger people in the community. They love drama too. I'm not saying that Melody's perfect. I'm not saying that Stormy's perfect. I'm not saying anybody's perfect on the show. Everybody makes mistakes. But unfortunately, in our community, we don't give people grace for making mistakes. We want to keep beating them up and reminding them of how horrible they are because they made a mistake, or because they said something out of turn, or because they're not who we want them to be when we meet them, or they have an issue with somebody that we support. I never understood why people wanted Tisha to get divorced from Marceau. Tisha knows Marceau more than anybody else. The issue is that initially people were accusing Melody of trying to sabotage Tisha's relationship because she was jealous that Tisha was still married and she was going through drama with Martell. I don't believe Melody tried to destroy Tisha's marriage. Tisha's marriage is her business, but a lot of us find joy in destroying people's families and people's marriages, just like Ariane found joy in destroying Melody's marriage. So the cast members on the show, the reason why the show resonates so much with our community is because the cast members on the show mirror or reflect our own dynamics back to us. So the audience has low-key become a part of the show, but they became a part of the show in ways that they did not expect. Some of the content creators may have believed that they were in control of the narrative. They were in control of their platforms. When in actuality, the tribal warfare that we're seeing in the Love and Marriage Huntsville social media community is a direct reflection of the tribal warfare we have within our own communities. So the content creators are actually taking on the roles of the people that they are attacking. That's how energy works. You're becoming what you claim to hate and despise the most. You're becoming what you are judging. So the cast members that are being attacked on the show are just exposing how similar some of these people are to whoever they are attacking. Somebody in my comment section mentioned that all the cast members except Melody are criminals, they're not legitimate businessmen, they're scammers, so on and so forth. What I find interesting about that, even if that is true, I don't know if it's true or not, that is not my business. What I find interesting about that is that, we seem to be so self-righteous about these individuals on the show. They're not meeting our expectations or standards of perfection. I'm not talking about Martell. Martell had a legitimate personality disorder and he was on a rampage or warpath against his ex-wife. I'm not talking about him. He's a whole different category, right? Not to say he deserves to be beaten up and maligned for the rest of his life, especially if he's trying to be better, but he's a different category. But I have people telling me that the cast members are criminals. Yet in our community, we lay up with hardened criminals. We make babies with murderers and drug dealers and women beaters and pedophiles. We have low standards for who we're dating, but all of a sudden we have all these high expectations and standards for the cast members of the show who appear to be upright citizens. No, their lives aren't perfect. They're not perfect. Nobody's life is perfect. But we're holding these people to a higher standard than the people that we're laying up with in our communities, people that we're fighting over. We're fighting over men who not only don't care about us, who are women beaters, abusers, killers, murderers, drug dealers, or whatever. We're fighting over these men and defending them from other people's criticism. Yet Marceau, Maurice, and the other cast members on the show deserve to be ridiculed, judged, attacked, criticized for getting arrested for petty crimes. I don't know what they're arrested for, but these are petty crimes they got arrested for. It wasn't anything that serious. We glorify hardened criminals in our community as a culture. These are Black people who are trying to represent Black excellence. They're trying to do that. And this is one of the reasons why I had so much respect for Melody from the very beginning, is because she was trying to exemplify and be a role model, a positive role model for young women, young mothers, single mothers, and Black women, which is a stark contrast to the content we have been seeing on TV with Love and Hip Hop, with Real Housewives of Atlanta, with Basketball Wives, all that ratchet mess. Melody was someone who was educated, hardworking, self-sufficient, a good mother, a good wife, etc. She wasn't out here twerking and pussy popping and doing drugs and fighting in the street. That's not who she is, and that's not what her brand is. So that's why I respect her from the very beginning. The cast members are trying to do the same thing. We should respect that. Instead of saying, let's attack them for not being perfect, let's use their mistakes against them to make Melody look better, even though she may not have asked you to do that. And Melody didn't ask him to do that. I think people are doing that for their own personal enjoyment. Because again, we enjoy tearing each other down. We enjoy the entertainment factor. We enjoy seeing people get humiliated. We enjoy seeing people lose everything. We enjoy that. Not every Black person. I'm not speaking about every Black person. I'm not speaking about all the millimeters. I'm not speaking about all the stands. But there's a certain faction of people in this group who are very toxic on both sides, and they're instigating mess because it feeds their personal need for toxicity. It has nothing to do with the cast members on the show. This is somebody who starts shit in your life, not because they care about you and they're trying to take care of you. It's because they have a bloodlust for drama. That's who they are. So I'm not gonna go tit for tat with either side, because it seems like neither side, Melody supporters, Stormy supporters, no, this has nothing to do with the cast members. No matter what Melody says and does, people are going to do whatever they want to do. That is true. So now the onus and the responsibility is on the so-called fans to protect Melody's brand by way of calling out people who are instigating mess. How about you gatekeep the community so that Melody doesn't have to fight these battles on behalf of people who are trying to use her to satisfy their own dysfunction? How about you guys do that, right? Since Melody can't control all of her stands and her fans, and that is true, that's not her responsibility. But if you care about her that much, when you see somebody starting BS, instead of egging them on and saying, yeah, go get him, say, nah, you're doing too much. Melody does not want you guys to do this. You're not doing this for her on her behalf. You're doing it for yourself. Because you want to be the one with the tea. You want to be the one that's considered the most ardent supporter of Melody. And so now you're going to bring toxicity into this space. Bring Melody drama. Listen, when I first started making this content, people would send me a whole bunch of negative stories about the show, about the cast. And I did not focus on most of them because it would only be more incendiary. It would add fuel to the fire. And I was trying to diffuse the fire. I didn't start my platform, and it's not about me, but I have to acknowledge my role in this space, because I used to talk about the show all the time, more often than I do now. I have to acknowledge my part in this. Even though I don't feel like I've contributed to the drama, I have to be fair, objective, and rational and evaluate whether or not my commentary contributed to this mess. I've been doing it since the very beginning. If you guys have been with me for the past couple of years on my other channel, The Wounded Womb of Lilith, after Ariane did her interview with Tasha K, I had a little rant, and I was like, we have to be careful with the content that we consume, because you become whatever you watch. We like to consume drama and chaos and garbage and mess. And so we become that. It becomes a reflection of our culture. I stated this over 2 years ago because I saw then that people were not learning, but they weren't listening to my content to learn per se. They were listening to it because they felt like it was an attack against someone else that was just based on emotions and them not being shit. And that was never the basis for my platform. That's like bullying. So there's a fine line between calling somebody out on their poor behavior and bullying them. When it becomes relentless and there's no lesson in it, like you're just beating a child without explaining to them why they're getting disciplined, like you're just disciplining a child without explaining why they're being disciplined, that becomes abusive. So I tried to integrate the lesson with the criticism of Martell's behavior, because Martell's behavior was absolutely abhorrent, and I could not understand why the women in our community were not seeing things from Melody's perspective. So that's my role in the situation. But when I saw what was happening, and I saw this cloud of darkness just filling the air as it pertained to the show, to the point where every time I thought about the show, I got depressed and stressed out, and I said, I cannot do this like this. This is not sustainable for me. And it is well documented that, I have been very transparent about my inner turmoil about this show with my audience. But here we are today. And I don't want to egg on any more drama between the two sides. But we do have to acknowledge at this point that the drama that's being created within the cast is not for good measure. People aren't doing it to be altruistic and supportive because they love Melody. People are starting drama for their own personal enrichment and to also feed that demon of drama and dysfunction that is pervasive in our community. We cannot look at our community. We cannot go on social media. We can't go on WorldStar. We can't go on Facebook and ignore the fact that many people in our community, especially the elders, like to start shit. Elders like Miss Betty, who was hating on Melody before she even got on the show. And I always ask myself, are Miss Betty's eyebrows a reflection of the anger she has within her? Because her eyebrows are very, very expressive. They look angry all the time. And then the Wanda bats. Miss Wanda having more smoke for Melody than she does for her own son-in-law. Miss Wanda's issues with Melody have nothing to do with Melody in particular. Miss Wanda likes drama. She likes to fight. She has problems with her own family members. So of course, Melody is an easy target. So the cast members are victims, but they're also perpetrators of the drama, especially the older ones. I'm not sure about Miss Van. I don't think she's starting anything. I haven't seen her be messy, but Miss Betty and Miss Wanda, these two individuals, these older individuals, are the ones who are propagating the mess. And then the audience is feeding into it, and then the content creators, they try to monetize the dysfunction. So now, again, it is up to the groups, the Millimeters, the other groups that support Stormy and Tisha and Destiny to say, listen, we have to have some sort of powwow where we differentiate ourselves from the individuals who are starting mess on behalf of Melody. We don't want Melody to have to fight these battles. She has better things to do with her life. She has There's another thing too. How are people attacking a single mother of 4 young children who just got out of a very abusive marriage? How are people feeling okay with this? How are people okay with attacking Black parents? People who are trying to be upstanding citizens. So the same people who are okay with trying to destroy Tisha's marriage are kind of like Ariane, because Ariane was okay with trying to destroy Melody's marriage. Well, she kind of did. I don't think she has all the responsibility for it, but she played a major role in Melody's relationship breaking up. In our culture, we don't respect marriage, whether we're the mistresses or haters on the outside telling people to do what they got to do in their relationships that have nothing to do with what's actually happening in that relationship. It's more so about your personal projections of what they should do based on what you did not do when you were in the same situation. That's what's happening in many of these cases. So we don't respect children in our community. I heard that Melody's children were being attacked by some of her haters. We don't respect family. We don't respect marriage. We don't respect children. We don't respect community. We don't respect businesses, nothing. We do have respect for the prison penis that we don't want to let go of, though. We have respect for the drug dealers and the prostitutes and drug dealers and pimps in our community who are poisonous to the village. We respect them, though. We never have any smoke for them. But when it comes to upstanding citizens, aka soft targets like Marceau and Tisha, Melody, Stormy, Destiny. Destiny's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But to try to destroy her life or her opportunities to make money while she's the mother of a young baby boy, a young Black child, is deplorable. Regardless of how you felt about the way she treated Melody, and I do believe that she could have been a better friend to Melody, absolutely, that doesn't mean that her child deserves to suffer because of the way you feel about how she treated somebody you don't even know. So again, it's not about the cast members. People are not attacking each other on behalf of the cast. You're attacking each other because that's a part of your culture. I've seen it myself as a Black American. Quick to fight, slow to forgive. And some of us call ourselves Christians. Quick to fight, slow to forgive. We go to church every Sunday, pretend as if we're holy, and we're righteous, and then we turn around and viciously attack innocent people, try to destroy their livelihoods, try to humiliate them, try to turn them into social pariahs, trying to weaponize their mistakes against them. For what? That's not for Melody. Melody is going to be great regardless of whether you guys are doing that or not. She doesn't need you guys to destroy other people or attack other people for her to be successful and great. Melody was doing great before the show even started. The same thing for Stormy, the same thing for Tisha, the same thing for Destiny. These are women who have lots of potential and greatness in them. They don't need you to go on a warpath to vindicate somebody else. That's not necessary. And so we're going to have a chicken and egg situation. The reason why millimeters are attacking these other people is because other people started attacking Melody. And then the other people are going to say, well, we're attacking Melody because she's weaponizing her fans against us. So it's not going to stop. It is not supposed to stop, because in our culture, the fighting never stops, does it? It continues until what? It never stops. Look at our streets. Look at our communities. Look at our schools. Look at the jails. Look at our homes. Look at our families. Look at our relationships. Now we got to go overseas to find a viable partner and a viable mate, because the culture is so dysfunctional that we can't even live in the same house anymore with each other. The hatred and the viciousness and the dysfunction and the drama is baked into our psyches. Of course, we can fix it, but you have to acknowledge that there's a problem first. So I'm not going to go in here and blame anybody in particular. I don't know who is saying what or who's starting what, but I understand subtext. I understand what Marceau is saying on the show about certain lines being crossed. I understand what people are telling me in my comment sections. I understand what I'm reading in the forums. I understand what's happening because I saw it coming, because it's a part of our culture. This is who we are. We don't have to stay this way, but this is where we are now. So please stop using Melody or Stormy or Tisha or anybody else on the show as a scapegoat for your own dysfunction. Don't do that. Just admit that you're instigating drama because it feeds something inside of you that you don't know how to process constructively. That's what's happening. And again, I'm not speaking about anybody in particular, so please don't go in my comment section saying, who you talking about? I don't know. Whoever it applies to, it applies to. They'll know. And I'm not here to attack anybody or make anybody feel bad. I'm here to help bring some sort of peace to the situation, because the situation got out of hand a long time ago. And I feel really bad for Melody for having to defend herself from Miss Wanda. But Miss Wanda is not attacking Melody because of anything Melody did. Miss Wanda is attacking Melody because this is who she is. And I said this over 2 years ago. She loves to fight and argue and bicker because it makes her feel powerful or empowered. The same thing with Miss Betty with the angry eyebrows. Your daughter is blessed. You have a blessed life and you're still fucking miserable. You're still miserable. Not to say that I would be happy if my child was being attacked by swarms of people. I wouldn't go for that either. But Miss Betty was bitter before the show even started. So that's another excuse. On a final note, since I'm speaking to a lot of Christians here, you guys have to remember the golden rule. Do unto others. If you don't want people talking shit about Melody, then don't talk shit about anybody else. If you don't want people talking stuff about Stormy, then don't talk mess about Melody. If you don't want people talking stuff about Kiki or Tisha, then don't talk mess about Kiki or Tisha. Now, before I forget, I'm going to give you guys an example to substantiate what I'm saying. Last season, I stopped watching the show and I stopped reviewing it after Kiki threw the drink on Tisha's face. And Kiki was not necessarily provoked. She wasn't in danger. Tisha was trying to diffuse the situation. She was trying to be non-confrontational. She was trying to keep the peace. But like many people in our community, Kiki wanted the drama. She didn't want to diffuse anything. Again, the cast members are mirroring the dynamics of our community. Many of us who are watching the show are just like the cast members that we are criticizing. Just so you know. Okay, so I stated that Kiki was wrong for doing that to Tisha because Tisha does not deserve that. And people in my comment section were saying that she did deserve it. I said, why? They mentioned Melody. What does Melody have to do with Kiki assaulting Tisha unprovoked? And this is what I was talking about people using their hatred of other cast members to justify wrongdoing. It was wrong for Kiki to throw a drink on Tisha, period. But because you felt like Kiki was on Melody's side and you didn't like Tisha because of her relationship with Melody at that point, you were okay with that happening. And some people may say, oh, the millimeters weren't supporting that. Those were other people. How do you differentiate between a millimeter and a troublemaker if the millimeters are egging on the drama? And it's not just about the millimeters. The other groups are responsible as well. they're returning the same energy. It's a ping pong match back and forth. And because we like to fight, we're not going to diffuse. We're going to keep going and keep going. It's always going to be up. There's never going to be any peace, never any forgiveness, never any grace, nothing. Melody and Tisha don't have to be the best friends ever again. They don't have to get to that point. Melody's a grown woman. She knows who she can trust and who she cannot trust. We don't need to babysit her and tell her how to live her life and force her to adhere to whatever rules that we have based on our feelings about how she was treated. She's an independent grown woman and very successful at that. So we have to trust her judgment at this point. If she needs support, then we'll have her back. But at this point, she doesn't need her support. But at the same time, just because I support Melody doesn't mean that I want Stormy to fail or Destiny to fail or Tisha to fail or get a divorce. That's not necessary. I don't want to see Black families get divorced. That's why it was so painful to see Martell and Melody get a divorce. Not just because they were so attractive and the perfect couple, but because I hate to see married couples get a divorce. But many of us don't care about that. Many of us don't care about destroying marriages. We don't care about destroying our children. We don't care about ruckus and drama. We marry drama. We lay up with prison penis and drug addicts and drug dealers and murderers. We defend them. We'll defend their honor, but we're going to attack upstanding citizens who are trying to do the right thing. And they're trying to represent Black excellence as opposed to the ghetto ratchet shit we've been seeing on social media for the past 15, not even social media, on reality TV for the past 15, 20 years. We have to stop beating people up with their past mistakes. Somebody getting arrested for petty theft or a DUI does not make them a career criminal. They made a mistake, they got caught, and they're doing better. Now it's time to move on and stop beating them in the head with that every time you see them. That's demoralizing. And that's why people in our community feel like there's no safe space because we don't want to give it to them. You know why we don't like giving each other a safe space? Because we want the opportunity to be oppressive to each other, just like the white man is oppressive to us. So now I can look down on you because you have a criminal record, because you made a mistake in your life. I'm not talking about the career criminals. I'm not talking about the murderers and gang members. I'm talking about people who made mistakes when they were younger. Little petty stuff. And they've tried to grow out. They've tried to change their life. Give them the opportunity to change. Give them grace and space to change and heal. Stop beating them up over what happened in the past, especially if you're seeing that they're making a change. It's been 5, 6, 7 years and they haven't made the same mistakes. They've learned from their mistakes. Give them grace. Everybody deserves that. Martell too. Martell deserves grace also. He doesn't deserve Melody back. Martell needs to get his life together. But if Martell is leaving Melody alone and allowing her to thrive and glow up, then that should be the end of the drama between them. We don't need to egg that on anymore. If Martell's still trying to attack Melody, then he deserves to get all the smoke that's coming to him. But if he's not doing that, he's low-key, he's minding his business, leave him alone. Same thing with Arion. Leave them alone because it's going to just feed into our bloodlust. We love beating people up with their mistakes. We love doing it. We love reminding people how they used to struggle, of when they were down. We love doing that. I see it on the forums all the time. Someone, talks about their career, or there's some celebrity talking about a new project. Somebody's going to mention something from 15 years ago about a mistake they did. Like they're never allowed to forget the mistakes of the past in our community, because that is our way of feeling superior to somebody else, because we're marginalized people who don't like each other. So let the backbiting and the instigating begin. And again, the very thing that people are attacking some of the cast members for, they're the exact same way. They're a member of our community. They're no better or any worse than the sum total of who we are. And like I mentioned a couple years ago, we have to be careful with what we consume, because we become what we eat. If we eat drama and dysfunction and love and hip hop and Real Housewives of Miami or Real Housewives of Atlanta or whatever, if we consume that, then that's what we're going to produce. More dysfunction and drama and chaos and distrust and humiliation and celebrating other people's downfalls. Why would you feel good about that? Why would you celebrate somebody losing money, or somebody losing their home and their family, or somebody getting a divorce? Why would that be celebrated? I feel really bad for Destiny, not because she and Melody had a falling out. That's not why I feel bad for her. Any woman going through what she's going through, I feel bad for her. She's got a divorce, lost her friends, lost her income, had a new baby. A lot's happening. The same thing with Melody. The same empathy I have for Melody, I have for Destiny. I have for Tisha, because I'm a human being and I'm not here to play favorites or be a hypocrite and say, well, I support Black women, but just not that Black woman. I have some empathy for Arion also, because she was dumb and young and she has received an adequate verbal lashing. I haven't heard about her for quite a while. She's fallen back and gotten low key. That's what's up. I'm hoping that she's healing and making better decisions in the future and teaching her son to be a better man or her daughter to be a better woman. That's the best we can ask for. We cannot keep beating people up with their mistakes. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I love you all. I'm serious. I want you all to do great and be great. And no, I don't watch Carlos King. He's not feeding me anything. Like, listen, you guys, some of you guys know I'm very isolated. I stay to myself for this very reason. I like to be able to observe things from the outside looking in. And if you're in the mess, you can't really see well what's happening on the outside. And sometimes you can if you have a healthy perspective and you're intentional about what you're doing. You can see certain things happen before they do happen. But for the most part, I prefer to stay to myself. So no, nobody's paying me. I'm not on anybody's payroll. Nobody's asked me to do anything. And if they did, I wouldn't listen to it if I didn't agree with it regardless. So that's not happening. Okay? All right, guys. I look forward to reading feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe. My Love and Marriage Huntsville content will be published by Tuesday. I'll probably do it tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll speak to you soon.